Ladies and gentlemen, William Barr has already read the Steele Dossier. Steele Dossier is the equivalent of somebody you don't like at work telling your boss that he or she saw you stealing all the most important information from file cabinets in the middle of the night, along with a whole bunch of other people, and then running towards a getaway car, and then selling that information at the behest of a foreign country, and then going back to work the next day and asking for a raise under the pretext of how hard they work when they work overtime. It's gossip, it's hearsay, it's nonsense. And when William Barr and John Durham Durham's investigating criminal behavior, as is William Barr. But when they ask a simple question, well, golly gee, because when William Barr says, I just don't know, I don't know if anything was unlawful, but I'm going to investigate whether the counterintelligence probe was lawfully started, or whether it commenced in a lawful manner. Once they read the dossier, they'll know that a Russian intelligence officer is one of the sources. So Clinton not only accepted money, solicited information. Simply, the defense that that people on the left, whether it's pundits or anyone, when they say, well, we don't know if the Russian government was behind the Steele Dossier, doesn't matter if it's the Russian government or any other government. The Steele Dossier was compiled from a foreign national, a former British MI6 agent who couldn't stand Trump, had a vendetta against Trump, who couldn't verify any information, who made not only salacious claims, completely bogus allegations. The money was not only solicited, Clinton paid, I think Christopher Steele himself, it was like $160,000 from Fusion GPS. Then you have Fusion GPS, the wife of the fourth highest member of the Department of Justice, working for Fusion GPS, Natalia Veselnitskaya, according to Fox News, reportedly meeting before and after the Trump Jr. meeting with Glenn Simpson, the founder of Fusion GPS. So why she met before and after the Trump Jr. meeting, who knows? Then you have Bruce Orr telling the FBI from the Department of Justice that, hey, you probably should vet this. It's completely unverified, and oh, by the way, it was purchased by Clinton. You probably shouldn't use it for a counterintelligence probe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But here it is. Do what you like with it. So you have the wife of a Department of Justice official who works for Fusion GPS. You have the wife of a FBI agent, Andrew McCabe, who's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe and Democratic PACs. And all of this is done at the behest of Clinton. You have Fusion GPS being outsourced by Clinton's law firm. You have CrowdStrike. Now, CrowdStrike is outsourced by the Democratic Party. And guess what? The United States government has never even looked at DNC servers. This is not difficult to understand, this farce. It's so easy to understand, but I'm going to read you the actual Steele Dossier in a second, or in a couple minutes. But I want to read you this. The report said, this is The Hill. The Mueller report said that after the 2016 election, Russian officials sought to quickly create connections with the Trump administration as they lacked contacts. The most senior level of the Russian government encouraged these efforts. The investigation did not establish that these efforts reflected or constituted coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia and its election interference activities. They talk about the DNC emails, they make allegations. The Mueller report is basically the Steele Dossier. It's basically a more respected version of the Steele Dossier, but no evidence of any claim made. In fact, two of the Mueller team attorneys, this is according to John Solomon of The Hill and Sarah Carter, amazing journalists. Two of the Mueller team attorneys actually saw the Steele dossier before the election. Why were they given the Steele dossier before the election? When it was a completely unverified document, why was this unverified document, this compilation of gossip, used to obtain a FISA warrant against Carter Page when it wasn't verified, number one, and it was purchased by Clinton, outsourced by Clinton? The minor footnote on the bottom that the judge looked at didn't say that Clinton purchased this. Not only is this an example of utilizing dirt from foreign governments, but it's an example, it's a vapid way of circumventing responsibility. Well, she didn't, we don't know. She just purchased she funneled the money through her law firm. And then there was Fusion GPS. Then they outsourced Christopher Steele. So really, none of the claims that they make, the Mueller report also details communications regarding the DNC emails and Russian military officers. No, there's no evidence of that. The evidence comes from the ODNI and DHS reports that make statements there are no judgments should not be confused as fact. There are warranty disclaimers. The United States government does not guarantee nor state with certainty any of the claims it makes. The Mueller report does not guarantee or state with certainty claims that it makes. So it doesn't even know, and then it doesn't even know if Russia even hacked the DNC, but then it goes, Mueller previously indicted 12 Russian military officers in the DNC hack. The Mueller report doesn't talk, it actually talks about CrowdStrike, but only in passing, and the actual indictments of Russian military officers talk about Company 1. Why is this? Why am I giving this preface, or why am I giving this before reading the Steele dossier? I'm telling you all of this because this is from the Mueller report. Further, the evidence was not sufficient to charge that any member of the Trump campaign conspired or with representatives of the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. It states that categorically. It states that it doesn't have evidence to charge any member of the Trump campaign, including Trump, with either a campaign finance violation or being a foreign agent or working or conspiring with the Russian government. The Mueller report does not make any claim with evidence that Natalia Veselnitskaya or Joseph Mifsud are part of the Russian government. It doesn't state categorically that Russian intelligence officers even hacked the DNC. Just because there's an indictment doesn't mean the allegation is accurate or factual. The Mueller report is a glorified Steele dossier. John Durham and William Barr know this. I explain in my Federalist article that 18 U.S. Code 370, the Code 371, the people who conspired to defraud the United States government weren't Trump campaign officials. Oh, and then they talk about Sessions. Oh, yeah, Sessions had a contact with Sergei Kislyak. So what? There were Democratic senators who also met with Sergei Kislyak. Bill Clinton met with Vladimir Putin. If contacts are the issue, if suspicion is the issue, what about the money that flowed into the Clinton Foundation from Uranium One executives? What about Bill Clinton meeting with Vladimir Putin? So the issue, it's not suspicion, because if it's suspicious contacts, then you would have also investigated the Uranium One sale with vigor and with the same enthusiasm. The Democratic Party doesn't work that way. They're now saying the Steele dossier is completely different from what happened with Trump. The Steele dossier, we have it's recorded that Clinton purchased it from her with money funneled through her law firm. There's no evidence that Natalia Veselnitskaya or Joseph Mifsud or the DNC emails or even the Internet Research Organization or the Internet Research Group, that troll factory from Russia, did this on behalf of the Kremlin. And there's no research that anybody had their votes altered. When they say they interfered in the election, they didn't. That's another issue. They didn't interfere in the election. Not one vote was altered by Facebook ads. Not one vote was altered by Twitter bots. And if you want to say, well, the DNC emails forced Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign because they cheated Bernie Sanders, well, then, number one, that shows that the DNC engaged in a criminal act of its own that Nico House, Jared Beck, and Elizabeth Beck exposed in the DNC fraud lawsuit. Number two, that also shows that even before the alleged hack of the DNC, everyone knew that Bernie Sanders wasn't treated in a fair manner. The fact that the DNC was exposed can't be an example of some Russian government, some foreign plot to interfere in democracy. Other countries don't inform their adversaries of ways to make their democracy stronger. Had we looked at the DNC and how it treated Bernie Sanders, who eventually turned out to just behave in a cowardly manner. But had we looked at that and said, hey, you know what? There's a political group, there's a political organization that cheats its candidates, and it's blaming another country in the most xenophobic manner possible. Maybe that political organization should should right its ship and make amends, or ensure that it doesn't cheat anymore. Maybe actually focusing on democracy within the country by ensuring that the DNC doesn't cheat any longer. Maybe that would be a good thing. But if you want to talk about interference, dirt on a political opponent, the Access Hollywood tape, the Washington Post, did they interfere in the election? That was dirt on Trump, and he still won. So it's okay if the Washington Post specifically times dirt, but if the DNC emails were specifically timed, oh my God. And the DNC emails led to someone's resignation, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. A hot mic that is, 2005, so a decade-old hot mic statement has nothing to do with politics in this day and age. Nothing. Otherwise, you'd bring up the actual Wikipedia page that Bill Clinton has on misconduct with women. Or you'd bring up Justin Fairfax, or you'd bring up Keith Ellison, but the left doesn't bring up all the people who engage in the sexist and racist blog posts, allegations against them. The left is just as, what am I saying, even more insidious. But let's get to, finally, what John Durham and William Barr have already read. Number one, when you hear... Okay, number one. So, really quickly, the Russians didn't interfere in the election. We have no clue how many votes were altered. We have no clue which Facebook ads were the most efficient in altering an X number of votes. We have no clue how many votes in swing states were altered by Facebook ads or Twitter bots or by the DNC emails. And the DNC emails showed corruption within the Democratic Party. So it's not really the fact that we learned of the DNC emails, it's what the DNC emails actually talk about that forced Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign. The corruption existed. That's not another country's fault. But anyway, and everybody pretty much knew that Bernie Sanders was being cheated all along. The fact that he has helped sweep this under the rug and erase history is just one of the many cowardly things that he's done. Anyway, so, A, they didn't interfere. We have no evidence that they did. The Mueller report makes statements and allegations that the Russian government helped Trump, that the Russian government wanted Trump over Clinton. We have no evidence that they did. The ODNI and DHS reports, the two intelligence reports that state that make claims. James Clapper even tells Chuck Todd on March, when he says there's no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion in March of 2017, in that famous episode with where James Clapper goes on about, there's no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, but it could have happened. Blah, blah, blah. He says they had no evidence that Russia wanted Trump over Clinton. The Mueller report makes that statement, and numerous other allegations without any evidence backing it up. Simply says, oh, the Russians did this, the Russians did that. Making a claim without any evidence is worthless, which is basically what the two intelligence reports stated. So when you hear pundits on the left say, we learned so much from the Mueller report. No, we didn't. The Mueller report is a glorified Steele Dossier, the Mueller report is also a compilation or a combination of the ODNI DHS reports and a whole bunch of media reports. Anyway, the Steele Dossier was used as a whole bunch of nonsense. Russian regime, okay, the Steele Dossier number 1 makes specific, bold, categorical, grandiose, outlandish claims, none of which are true. Each of the claims that are made state that the Russians, for years, have been working with Trump's campaign and Trump's campaign officials in a clandestine manner, in a surreptitious manner, in secret meetings, and they worked alongside one another to interfere in the election. That didn't happen. That did not happen. It would be the equivalent of saying Bob was seen in a car. Bob was seen in a Corvette with a Victoria's Secret bottle going at 100 miles per hour, when in reality, Bob was driving his grandma to the mall and they were in an old Chevy and they were going 20 miles per hour. That's what happened, and the Steele Dossier is the whole Corvette supermodel, whatever. Anyway, summary: Russian regime has been cultivating, supporting, and assisting Trump for at least. This is actually from the dossier. Okay? The dossier starts with confidential, sensitive source. Nothing is classified here. So, it's confidential, secret, top secret are the classifications for. So it starts off by saying it's confidential. Nothing was classified. It starts off by saying U.S. presidential election, Republican candidate Donald Trump's activities in Russia and compromising relationship with the Kremlin. He never had a compromising relationship with the Kremlin. The Mueller report literally states he didn't have a compromising relationship. If you read the Mueller report, it makes statements like, well, the DNC emails was, the work of Russia to help Trump. We don't know that. There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence. They make the allegations, and then the evidence, well, they indicted Russian intelligence officers. So read the indictments. Company 1 is CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike was outsourced by the Democratic Party. They're literally indicting people with evidence purchased by the Democratic Party. How do you do that? No court in the United States of America would allow evidence purchased by a political rival to convict somebody. That, by the way, is not even verified. CrowdStrike has never been verified, or the United States government does not guarantee or state with certainty the DNC was hacked. That's a fact. But the Russian regime has been cultivating, support, and assisting Trump for at least 5 years. Aim, endorsed by Putin, has been to encourage splits and divisions in the Western alliance. Well, okay, number one, you could have said the same thing about President Obama. This is a vapid, sophomoric, absurd claim. Because Trump wants NATO to pay its fair share, that is a split that's endorsed by Putin. And oh my God. Look, the DNC was hacked, so that means that Trump is doing Putin's bidding. Well, there are Guardian articles that say, in 2008, that actually talk about Vladimir Putin being very happy he didn't have to deal with Bush anymore, and that he was now working with President Obama. President Obama also told Mitt Romney, the 80s want your foreign policy back, that Russia is no longer an adversary. President Obama told Dmitry Medvedev, on a hot mic that actually is relevant to politics, that, once I win the election, we'll have more leeway to discuss things. President Obama did not veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity to Putin. So this is hilarious, but the big issue is Russian regime has been cultivating support and assisting Trump for at least 5 years. No evidence of that. So far, Trump has declined various sweetener real estate business deals offered to him by Russia's. Okay, however, he and his inner circle have accepted a regular flow of intelligence from the Kremlin. Wrong. Including the Democratic and other political rivals. There's no evidence of that. Nobody was charged with that. Nobody was charged under the statute that would relate to. Former top Russian intelligence officials claims SFB. Former top Russian intelligence officer claims. So you're actually getting a Russian intelligence officer as part of this. Clinton purchased a dossier where a Russian intelligence officer gives his 2 cents. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Former top Russian intelligence officer claims FSB has compromised Trump through his activities in Moscow sufficiently to be able to blackmail him. First of all, there's no evidence of that. Second of all, it's not the way Trump works. According to several knowledgeable sources, his conduct in Moscow has included perverted physical acts which have been arranged and monitored by the FSB. So there's no evidence of that. And if the reverse were true, if they said the Golden Mumu has engaged in enticing and exotic physical activity, people would say, how dare you, misogynist, how dare you, oh my God. The Golden Mumu would never do that. Madam Cyberhack, well, this is an example of, oh my God, we've gone into the gutter. Oh my God. A dossier comprising material on Hillary Clinton has been collated by the Russian intelligence services. Well, where is it? Over many years, it mainly comprises bugged conversations she had on various visits to Russia. Okay, where is it? The dossier is controlled by Kremlin spokesman Peskov directly on Putin's orders. So, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it's all nonsense. We can go on forever. Give me your thoughts below. We can go on forever, ladies and gentlemen. I'll probably do another reading of the dossier. We can just go on forever. None of it is an actual statement. A fact. Goes on to say that Manafort met with Russian intel officers. He didn't. Carter Page met with Russian intel. Michael Cohen met at Prague. Didn't happen. None of it happened. That's the point. That's the point here. None of it ever happened. We can read this dossier the whole day. None of it is true. None of it is verified. None of it is factual. And that's the problem. It was used to start a counterintelligence probe. That is illegal. That is illegal. Give me your thoughts below. Check out my article in the Federalist that was shared by Rush Limbaugh. Thank you so very, very much.